Bukayo Saka fouled 87 times thus far in this season. Bruno Guimaraes has been fouled 92. Jordan Ayew fouled 117, and yet Saka, say Arsenal, deserves a lot more protection. Martin, various people who are not Arsenal fans very much suggesting that if Saka wasn't an Arsenal player, you wouldn't be as vociferous as you're being in Saka's camp this morning. There's Bill, a Liverpool fan, blinking egg. I thought Gary Neville was overly biased when it comes to Manchester United. Keown is in a different level when it comes to Saka. What is he on about? You do feel that Saka doesn't get enough protection and that Arsenal have a legitimate claim here.
Well, we're talking about Saka, aren't we? You've asked me a direct question, and I've gone all out to say that he's been fouled too much, and he should be clearly on the top of that list, and he isn't. So that suggests to me that referees are misinterpreting.
But he also goes over
the fouls.
He goes over like an old lady in ice skates half the time.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think he goes over easy. So I think many of the fouls he gets are actually bought. And I look at it, and I remember Wilf Zaha, and of course I've got a dog in this particular fight because he was one of my favourite players. He was accused of being someone that was a diver. How did he get the reputation? He was one of the most foul players.
Did you think he was?
No, I didn't think he was at all.
There you are. So you were supporting him, aren't you?
But I didn't. But I wouldn't.
And I'm supporting Saka.
If I was the owner of the football club, I wouldn't be writing to the PGMOL going, please, can you look after our boy a little bit better? I think it's pathetic.
Well, what do Arsenal fans think? He's their player, and their club say that they've got a case here when it comes to their player, Bukayo Saka, being fouled. JJ is a big Arsenal fan. JJ, good morning. Thanks for joining us. What's your take on this Saka situation?
Good morning, gents. Lovely show.
Thank you, mate.
To be honest, listen, I'm a big Arsenal fan, but I'm starting to get a bit tired of seeing how Arsenal are playing, because it's pretty much the same thing. Teams are pretty much, they have read how we play. They sit back and try to get us on the counter, see if they get like a lucky situation. Happened with Villa. They had a header. We had the mess up, and it's just the same. Like, they try to play. Well, listen, Martinelli's not on form. We got Saka pretty much trying to do the exact same thing, and then we just don't have players, making those runs or getting across. It's pretty much the exact same thing over and over again.
Right. So, I mean, when it comes to Saka specifically, do you think Arsenal have got a case? It's your club, JJ, but you think no, they shouldn't have gone too far on this one.
Listen, it's just football, to be honest. It's not. It's becoming really, really soft. Granted, the refs, they have they haven't been great, but it's football. It's meant to be a physical sport, and then I just feel it's more of a they want to play a certain way, and they voicing their thoughts to the PGMOL to try to play the way they want to. Yeah.
So you think Saka and Arsenal should just go on with it? JJ, thanks for that. Darren's a Tottenham fan. Where do you stand on this, Darren?
Well, this is exactly why Calvert-Lewin got sent off, because players not to be touched. And if you want it that way, you are going to see sending offs like Calvert-Lewin, because eventually it's going to be no contact.
So you in this instance, regard Saka and Arsenal, you don't think they've got a case, highlighting the fact that he's been fouled so many times?
It happened to Bale. Every club's player has this. It is not specific to Arsenal, and to say it is wrong. It's just, do we want a contact sport, or do we want a bunch of people dressed up in Pampers?
Well, Martin, surely that's right up your street. Because when you played, you didn't mess around. You could play, but you could also dish out the treatment as and when you had to. We've got Darren there saying, we're going in the direction of football becoming a non-contact sport. They're kicking up Arsenal because of the number of times. In their eyes, their player is being fouled. Ayew's fouled more.
Well, last
Bruno is
night
fouled
we
more.
were arguing it wasn't a foul, and this is different. We're arguing for a foul. And we're arguing, most of all, though, for fairness, aren't we? That's what you're looking for, and it's down to interpretation. I did say in my summing up that it is dangerous to make this complaint, because human nature is such that perhaps it even gets worse for Saka.
Well, that's
before
right.
It gets better.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit kind of wondering how this had got out. Is it the PGMOL who were just like disdainfully thinking, how dare you make this complaint so it gets out? Or is it Arsenal? Because I don't think it's best in their best interest to make this public, Arsenal. Nevertheless, it's out there. And I do feel that he's a player that's been targeted, as you would do, because you look at the talent he has, and it has dried up. The other call that came in from JJ was, he's losing confidence, losing belief in the team, thinks it's very predictable. It has become very, very predictable from an Arsenal point of view. They need to find, Jim, another way, another solution to get through teams. Because we go to Saka, people double up. As I say, strong arm tactics as well. So it's borderline.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're talking about. And obviously, Arteta wants to keep going through Saka. And in order to do that, he doesn't think it's fair right now.
Well, Connor's another Arsenal fan. Darren, thanks for the call. Connor, you're a big Arsenal fan, no doubt. As a result of that, you're a big fan of Martin Keown. You're no doubt these days a fan of Bukayo Saka. Does he get kicked about too much? Is he fouled too much? And do Arsenal have a case? This is your club.
Listen, first of all, just like to say, I'm a massive Martin Keown fan and a massive Arsenal fan. And it's a privilege to bring up and you guys. But at this point, I actually want Arsenal are doing the watch our own back. Right? They're just going to want to put this in us because all we do is complain. It's embarrassing. Good players get kicked. I understand sometimes it's a bit too much, but take it as a compliment.
Okay, Connor, the line isn't that great, but I got roughly what you said, that Arsenal are making a rod for their own back. Do you think they are, Sam?
Well, I don't know about making a rod for their own back, because you would like to think that people are objective. I know human nature dictates something different, but I just don't think it's particularly great leadership. Again, I go back to the point, it really irritates me that Arteta got out from underneath that particular charge, because I don't think he should have done. I don't think Arsenal should have gone in behind him with their ridiculous assertions from their management structure. And I think this is another example of it. I think it's substanceless. Martin makes an observation that he doesn't get enough fouls. He probably gets half the fouls he gets, he probably didn't necessarily deserve to get, because they're fouls that he's bought, like most creative players do anyway. So I think it's a nonsense. I think you've never had a game that's been more protective of creative players than the ones you've got now. Half the fouls that we see on the pitch, the players have bought. Half the penalties that they get are the ones that they've dived to get. And I look at it and say, it's nothing. I don't understand what they're expecting. Are they expecting defenders just to give them a rite of passage? Away you go. Off you go.
I have a different opinion.
Hit that space.
I have a totally different opinion, Simon, and there's nothing new in that. If we were to look at it as, just neutrals out there, and you tell me, if you cast a vote, which player do you see every week that makes the most fouls in the Premier League? Which player do you think that is? Now, it's Conor Gallagher at Chelsea, because he runs around the pitch trying to press. He's the person that Pochettino wants to do in his pressing game, coming out of the pack to press. And we see that, don't we? In our mind's eye, we can see him making a foul. The other player, though, that's on the receiving end is Saka. Saka, you cannot tell me that anyone else has been fouled more times than him. It's down to interpretation. I will defend that. The dangerousness.
Ayew has and Bruno has.
But I've told you, why did they appear in the top 10
For Martin,
fouls made?
That's a different argument.
Because they're combative players who are drawing fouls, okay? Saka isn't. He's just a creative player.
But you're taking statistics and you're discrediting them. Like you said,
I can do what I want with them.
I know you can, and you can make a fool of yourself by doing it. But the point is the statistics are the statistics, the facts are the facts. It's like you said earlier on about this players' committee. There were 5 players on the committee that adjudicated the goal at Newcastle to not be a goal, or to be a goal. So with that in mind, you can't have it both ways. You've got statistics there.
What, that independent committee that paid for by the Premier League, that one?
5 players that sat on it. They're all going to be paid by somebody, aren't they? What would you prefer it to be paid by
How
Arsenal?
could it be independent?
We can write it in a column.
The Premier League.
Right.
It's not independent, is it?
Well, of course it is. Of course it is.
Of course it's not.
Well, Martin, everybody works for somebody, so you can always question someone's independence on a subject matter, but there's no reason for people not to be independent. They're not employed by the PGMOL. But going back to your original point about the statistics, you could also suggest that maybe there's many, many fouls that Ayew and Guimaraes has had that haven't been recorded.
Yes, of course.
So then what's your argument? Because their figures could get bigger.
Yeah, but
they'd still be above. They'd still be above Saka.
So why
get on
players,
with it.
Why
Stop whining, football clubs.
Why are these players so high on the fouls that are made then? Tell me that.
Because they're midfield players and he's a winger.
No, Ayew's a winger.
He's a different Ayew's a different kind of winger. Of course he is.
So generally he's got the ball, no?
Would you say
and you
Ayew,
get kicked?
But would you
so
say
how is he
Ayew
top of the list for
top
fouls?
Creative player? He's not. He's not.
So what is he then?
He puts himself
He's
about a bit.
turning the tables as a winger. He's kicking the fullback, yeah?
He puts himself, but I don't see the comparison between someone being fouled. Okay, so you'd be happier if Saka was putting a few fouls at himself.
What
but he's
I'm
too
saying is
that.
he is clouding the interpretation of whether he's fouling or being fouled, and he's doing it very well.
But it also comes down to the fact, Martin, just to finish this off,
okay,
that by doing this, by Arsenal highlighting it, are they not doing more bad than good in terms of the player
human nature
on the field
of the
of play?
referee will be one of just to it could get worse before it gets better for Saka.
There you go. Yeah. That is it. There's a cracking message, incidentally. Colin Davis. Regards Saka. 87 fouls in 20 games. That equates to 1 foul every 20 minutes. When I played for Crockenhill with Tony Cascarino in the Kent League One, we were fouled about every 5 minutes. Unbelievable. To be quite honest, I was paid a tenner a game. Nowhere near the money that Saka's getting per game for Arsenal. We'll see. But at the moment, Bukayo Saka, third on the list, not top of it. Not yet.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.